I smashed a glass bottle. Then I sanded the bottom until it was smooth. Then I heated the edge of the bottle and fused a heated plastic container to the bottom of the bottle. Next, I cut open the plastic container with a knife and wrapped the edge with an old tire. This way I made a simple diving mask for myself. I immediately ran to the ocean to test it, and it actually worked really well. Yesterday, while fishing, I found a small boat. The hull was completely intact, which gave me an idea right away. I pulled the boat onto the shore. Noah saw this and wanted to help, but I refused him immediately, because Lisa used to be my girlfriend. But after we ended up on this island, she got together with Noah. I didn't want to have anything to do with them anymore. After that, I focused on repairing the boat every day. Lisa and Noah pretended not to care, but in reality, they were secretly planning to steal the boat. But they didn't know I had already overheard their plan. Everything was under my control. A few days later, I finally fixed the boat, but I wasn't in a hurry to leave. I pretended to go fishing to gather supplies. Noah saw this and thought his chance had come. He quickly called Lisa over. They grabbed supplies and tried to escape, but in fact, I was watching everything from the side. I ran toward them as fast as I could, but by the time I arrived, they were already far away. I shouted several times, but they still ignored me. Then I turned around with a smile. Everything was planned by me. After that, I lay on the chair and enjoyed it all, watching them run into trouble during their escape. The man walked out of the bathroom. His face was covered in bruises. The officer asked who beat him, but none of his roommates spoke.
Private Doss, can you identify the men that beat you?
He showed no anger and made no complaints. He only said he accidentally fell out of bed while sleeping.
Are you saying that you don't know who attacked you?
I never said I was attacked, son.
This tolerance and toughness made the bullies see him differently. Doss was the most unique new recruit in the camp. He firmly refused to touch a gun during group training.
Problem, Private Cornstalk. Is there not one in your size? Or is it the color that is the issue?
No, sorry. I was told I don't have to carry a weapon.
Some people called him a coward. Others used violence against him, but he stayed true to his beliefs. Looking at this man covered in injuries, there was no sign of fear in his eyes. The officer could only try to persuade him to give up military service.
I got extra guard duty today, and I'm on KP this morning, so can't.
This persistence not only moved the officer, it also moved his roommates. Doss never argued with the officer's anger. His endurance was not born from weakness. It was because he was born extraordinary when he was young. He once saw murals from the Bible, and they quietly planted seeds of peace in his heart. As time passed, Doss grew into a strong young man. One day, his drunken father attacked his mother. Doss rushed downstairs immediately and grabbed the gun from his father's hands. Although he did not pull the trigger, he believed he had killed someone. From that moment on, Doss swore he would never touch a gun again, and he would never kill anyone. During training, I locked onto the vehicle behind me. I rolled directly under the car and tried to escape.
What the hell were you thinking?
When I opened my eyes again, I realized time had reset. I tried rolling under the car once more. After many failed attempts, I finally succeeded. I quietly followed the vehicle. It led me to a training facility. There, I met the female warrior, Rita. I got straight to the point.
Tomorrow, at the beach, we meet. You said to find you when I wake up.
After hearing everything, Rita immediately told me to follow her. She warned me never to tell anyone about my ability to revive repeatedly. If I did, I would be labeled insane and sent to a mental institution. In fact, Rita once had the same ability as I did. After suffering a severe injury, doctors gave her a blood transfusion. Her ability disappeared after that. Once I understood everything, Rita brought me to a secret base.
I'm Dr. Carter, particle physics, advanced microbiology.
He's also the only other person who'll believe what's happening to you. No one understands mimic biology better than him. He's a top analyst at Whitehall.
To convince me, they explained their knowledge of the monsters. There are 3 types of monsters. I accidentally dropped a Rolex worth millions, but as I dove underwater to search for it, I unintentionally discovered a mysterious stone. As an experienced treasure hunter, I immediately recognized this as a ballast stone used on ancient ships. Usually, such stones are near a sunken, treasure-filled ancient ship, so I immediately surfaced and informed my companions about the discovery. Upon hearing this, they grabbed weapons and dove into the water to search. Soon I made a new discovery. It wasn't until I pried it out that I realized it was a golden dagger from hundreds of years ago. Finding such a precious treasure instantly made me very happy. Now we just needed to find the treasure at the bottom of the sea, and we would become billionaires to improve our search efficiency. We went to the market and bought a lot of detection equipment. Then we returned to this area of the sea. First, we marked out the approximate area with ropes. Then we carefully searched with a metal detector. It didn't take long before the metal detector gave a response. To investigate, I immediately told my companion to use a hairdryer to blow away the surface sand. Soon, a thick iron chain appeared before us, realizing there was a big treasure underneath. I quickly instructed my companion to increase the power of the hairdryer, as the sand was blown away to both sides. The big treasure beneath finally emerged. It turned out to be an ancient cannon buried there for hundreds of years. To move this old thing, we quickly tied ropes to both sides of the cannon. Then we filled the airbags with clean air as the two of us lifted with all our strength. This huge object slowly began to float up. Just as we were about to transport the cannon onto the ship, our companion Lisa suddenly heard an alarm. It was the time for the Coast Guard's routine inspection. This news terrified us underwater because we knew that if we brought this antique up, the treasure below would also be exposed. At that point, it would be taken over by the authorities, and we might end up with nothing. To prevent this from happening, I quickly signaled to my companion to release some air and temporarily stabilize the cannon in the water. But just as my companion opened the airbag to release air, he accidentally released all the air. This instantly caused the several thousand pounds of cannon to uncontrollably fall toward the seabed, and my companion's arm got tangled in the rope, dragging him down to the seabed as well. Just as it hit the ground, the cannon precisely crushed my companion's arm beneath it. But what was even more terrifying was that our oxygen supply was about to run out. I climbed up to the roof. Just as I was about to retrieve the kite, I suddenly spotted Spears. He was watching everything around him. I carefully peered through a gap and almost got hit by a weapon. Realizing the danger, I immediately turned to escape, but I slipped and fell. In an instant, countless spears shot up from below. Fortunately, my movements were fast enough, and I successfully avoided all the lethal attacks. Eventually, I returned to the roof. Then I turned around and saw my kite again. I decided to get it back. I picked up a pebble from under the eaves and threw it to the other side of the roof. Then I rushed over to grab the kite. At that moment, I was filled with excitement. I had finally succeeded. However, just as I was about to leave, a giant hand suddenly grabbed my foot and threw me off the roof. I grabbed the edge of the house, but I still hadn't forgotten the kite. But I was immediately pulled back. I found that everyone in the yard was staring at me with fierce eyes. I realized I was in big trouble. Embarrassed, I picked up the kite and prepared to leave. To ease the tension, I casually whistled. Just as I turned around, a voice called out to me. I turned back and saw that person's fierce gaze. A fight seemed inevitable. However, just as they were about to attack, their leader ordered for me to be released. I had no idea why they suddenly saved me, but there was no time to think. I quickly grabbed the kite and ran away. As I fled, I didn't realize how dangerous the situation had been, because the people in the yard weren't martial artists. They were fully armed government troops, led by Chief Officer Tom. And the reason I survived was that Tom was secretly selling antique porcelain. He was worried I had witnessed his illegal transactions, so he wanted to kill me. 3 days later, I arrived at a temple. I originally went there to wish for marriage and wealth, but accidentally witnessed a bully torturing an innocent person. So I decided to protect the victim, but I didn't expect one of the bullies to be Tom's subordinate.